Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning to your edge in financial freedom. This morning, I've got a little article on Bitcoin. Let me get swapped over to the right screen. It's just me this morning. I'm pretty sure LBC decided to sleep in after a late night of Halloween trick-or-treating with his kids last night. So we'll see if he makes a late appearance or not. But I do have a lot for you today. A little bit of TA and a review from yesterday of something I had looked at that got requested that played out exactly kind of how I was looking at it. So let's dive on in and get you prepped for some success today. All right, let me get the stock heat map pulled up. We've got Apple sitting down 1.82%. We've got Nvidia sitting down 4.72. We have Berkshire Hathaway sitting down 0.89%. We've got Amazon sitting down 3.28. Got P&G sitting down 0.59. ExxonMobil is sitting kind of neutral. It is up 0.08%. Tesla continuing its little downtrend from its move on up, which was a decent move up. You know, there's a giant gap that it's left, so might be trying to fill that before it continues to the upside, but it is down 2.99%. Got Eli Lilly sitting down 2.02. We've also got some big downside on the technology sector. Microsoft is sitting down 6.05%. Google is sitting down 1.29. We've got Meta also sitting down big, down 4.09. So a lot to be worried about in that tech sector side. After some good earnings, they have not continued a little uptrend. I will have to take a look at that a little bit later. So we've got Bitcoin sitting down 0.44%. Ethereum is sitting neutral, 0 zeros on the board for that one. Got BNB sitting up 0.18%. We've got Solana up 0.3. Got Dogecoin sitting up 0.11. We've got XRP sitting up 1.71. Troncoin is sitting down 0.77. Toncoin is up 1.03. We got Cardano up 1.43. It is 34 cents again. Cardano seems to really like that 34 to 36 range right now. We'll see if that's been a good accumulation range, because if Bitcoin goes any higher and reclaims some dominance, Cardano might bleed out a little bit. We got Shiba Inu sitting down 2.2 as well. Let me get over to the economic calendar. We do have some big data coming out for the US this morning. Got your average hourly earnings month over month and year over year. We also have government payrolls, which is less of a market mover. You know, that's your tax dollars at work there. You got manufacturing payrolls, also less of a mover. You know, manufacturing is not as big in the US as it once was, and we import a lot of our goods. The big sector is going to be that non-farm payrolls today. And you can really expect a little bit of market movement off of that data combined with the average hourly earnings. month over month and year over year. The month over month is forecasted to be down just a little bit, but that year over year is looking steady at 4%. You got your non-farm payrolls looking down from 254,000 to 113,000. So it's not really that unexpected considering that we are at that time of year. Here in Nebraska this morning it is 38 degrees, and most of my farming buddies got all their harvesting done a few weeks ago. There's still a few things that are left to harvest, but farming sector is really slowing down, and a bunch of that is going to be on other sectors of the economy now. So you do have a big sector of the Midwest and other regions as well that rely on some of that, and it actually boosts a lot of the rest of their economy. So there's been a lot of trucking going on here because you got to move that harvest around, and that is non-farm, and so that gets a big boost off of that. You also have the unemployment rate coming out today. It is forecasted to be 4.1%, so looking neutral from its prior. So we will kind of see how that plays out for the morning. We do have some more data at 10 o'clock Eastern, and that will be ISM Manufacturing PMI. This is a bigger one on the data side of things. This is going to be for your manufacturing, what kind of inflation that they're seeing. Yes, we see less manufacturing in the US, but we still do manufacture a lot of things. When you can say made in America if you have all of the goods that are made somewhere else and are moved to America and are just assembled here. So that's where a lot of our manufacturing comes in. And it's looking like we're going to see a little move up off of that. And we'll kind of have to see if that is on forecast. That's going to be something good to see. Our manufacturing sector has been lagging this past year, along with a few other sectors as well. And it's been something that's been dragging down those wages that will be dropped earlier in the day. So we'll kind of see how the data for today moves the markets. Let me hop over to the fear and greed. We do have the stock market, after big moves down, sitting at 43 and neutral. For the crypto side of things, we are still sitting in greed. We hit extreme greed the other day. And, if you're looking for a sell indication or a short indication, that extreme fear is normally pretty accurate. And we hit some of those levels that the Piper Academy had talked about. It went a little lower than I was looking at. But Piper was pretty spot on his show yesterday. So we will kind of take a look at that after the liquidations. For the 24-hour liquidation chart, we do have some liquidity to the top side of us. That's sitting at 71,508. And this has been a big level for both short side liquidity when we were up above it, and it is now top side liquidity now that we are below it. It has been a very good level to short and long from when we've been on the top side of the range. There's also another slight hot spot above that at 72,000 and almost 600. It's 595 on the Binance chart. To the bottom side of us, we've got some liquidity sitting at 68,000 and goes all the way down to about 68.5. So just a small range there to see some liquidity grabbed. For the weekly chart, though, you can kind of see most of the liquidity is lying above us. The extremely hot spot is 73,600. That would have been shorts from that all-time high. We do have the hot spot still sitting in that same range, that 68.2. And the other really hot spot is that 66.1 area. And that's something I've had my eye on for a while. I've definitely talked about it because that's where a fair value gap is. If we hop over to the Bitcoin chart real quick, let me move that up from the hourly view. If you pull it up on the daily, you can kind of see here, we've got this fair value gap here that I've been looking at for a while, starting at 66,000. I know this says 65,977, but I'm going to round up. That's basically 66,000. You can kind of see we got some play out of that fair value gap. We wicked into it, never really hit that midline. So this fair value gap is still very much in play. As you can kind of see on a daily chart, we were getting a lot of curvature on your prime oscillator as well as the MACD. All of this right here, you can kind of see with the higher high, but not making higher highs on this one. You made a divergence here, as well as on the prime oscillator. There is a bunch of divergences on the way up of this whole move up. So that's something to keep in mind, that it definitely brings some downside pressure to things. I know I had talked about that 71, 100 range, and that was right there where that liquidity lies. It looks like we're getting a slight little bounce this morning. If you drop it down to a 15-minute chart to kind of see that how the morning might play out, you've got some movement to the upside, and that 71,100 is sitting right above us. And with the overheating that you're seeing on the prime oscillator with the first reversal signal, you could expect some continuation to the upside before possibly seeing a little bit more downside. That 71,100 range is going to be a decent spot to grab liquidity from before continuing down to the downside and grabbing a little bit of liquidity on the downside. It does look like we've got tentative support on the resistance line that we had been spending in for the past 6 months. So we could end up holding that, but I'm kind of looking for a little more downside. And I'm not the only one. You know, we've got Bitcoin faces fifth consecutive rejection at 72,000. Is another correction coming? Ahead of its monthly close, Bitcoin has seen another unsuccessful attempt to reclaim the $72,000 resistance as a support level. Despite the drop, some analysts consider the cryptocurrency is still in a strong position for an upcoming breakout, setting the next levels to watch. BTC's Sweet 16 party turns spooky. Bitcoin, the largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, recorded an impressive rally in October, surging around 13% in the last 30 days. BTC's price had jumped from 58,900 low to its near all-time high price 73,737, reaching the 37,300 mark on Wednesday. Following the green September close, the flagship crypto is set to have its best monthly close since March, potentially registering around 13 to 14% in monthly returns in its most recent price action. On its white paper's 16th birthday, Bitcoin recorded a spooky 2% drop, giving the rest of the market a red Halloween party. BTC's price fell below the $71,000 mark, reaching an intraday low of $70,600. Meanwhile, the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, Ethereum, pulled back around 5%, losing the 2600 support zone. Crypto analyst Ali Martinez pointed out that today's drop is the fifth consecutive rejection from Bitcoin, faced at 72,000. Since its all-time high, Bitcoin has been rejected from this resistance level 5 times, dropping between 8.2% and 18% the 4 previous times. Analyst Altcoin Sherpa suggests that Bitcoin could see a 4 to 5% dip if the largest cryptocurrency doesn't hold the $70,000 support zone. Nonetheless, Sherpa considers that the cryptocurrency should see some sort of bounce from the 70,800 to 71,400 area in the short term. BTC is expected to have an extremely volatile week ahead of the U.S. presidential elections. Bitfinex analysts predicted that Bitcoin's volatility will peak around November 6th and November 8th, as speculation and anticipation about the election outcome affect the cryptocurrency's performance. Is Bitcoin gearing up for an end-of-year breakout? I believe it is. We definitely are right at that mark that I've been talking about for a while, and that's right after elections is normally when you see that breakout, and that's why I talked to y'all about my next price target level, and that's that $77,000 mark. Crypto site Tuck weighted on Bitcoin's performance, noting that Bitcoin is still at all-time high by open interest. The crypto investor considers that the daily relative strength index could potentially bearish crash today. He also highlighted that 69,600 should work as a key support level for Bitcoin bulls, but warned that losing the 66,500 range could be messy as Bitcoin's open interest would flush. That's something that LBC has talked about on the show for quite a while now. As we've been moving up, it has not been a lot of spot buying. It has mainly been your markets where we're all spending time doing our derivatives, and that's been really moving the price on Bitcoin. Yes, Crypto Billy, it looks like Lunar slept in today. I know he was out trick-or-treating with his kids last night, so I can't really blame him too much. I was up late handing out candy, and that put me behind this morning too. So let me hop into the chat for a second. We've got all set here this good morning. We've got Anthony Soprano and French Toaster. We've got Al Jr. here, Silver Days XRP. We've got Falco here this morning as well. Bluff City Breaks, good morning, good morning. Darren Does Things and Baba Yaz as well. Good morning, good morning. I'm not really seeing anyone else in the chat. Oh, Ada Ace is here and Country Heath. Good morning, good morning. Let me hop back into the Bitcoin chart real quick, and I'll show you kind of what that article was talking about when it said that you had seen that 71,000 range, and that's that golden pocket on a fib extension. And this, if you pull it up on a little bit of a higher time frame, you can kind of see where I'd pulled that from. Here's this low before the move up and down to the low, and we were sitting right there below that golden pocket. This is something I have definitely kept in mind since we have moved kind of to the top side of this range. Looks like we could have made that into some support, but with all of the curvature that you're seeing on these higher time frames, it definitely looks like some downside potential is definitely plausible before a move on out, especially when you look at previous movements in this time frame of right before elections, you kind of see a little move down or a consolidation. I've got my eye on that move down. That article had talked about the 66.5 range. That's sitting right here below the 50% line on your fib extension. That 66.5 is going to be right between your fair value gap and the 50% line. So if we do end up coming down to that 50% line, I would look at us coming into that fair value gap, the bottom side of which is 63. You know, it had talked about 8% moves. And if you take an 8% move, as we've talked about before, from that, you're looking at slightly less than your fair value gap. Whereas in your fair value gap from current price is only about 10% below there. And it is definitely a doable move before a move on out of the range. We did kind of have a little bit of support made on that resistance line, like I had talked about. Wrong one. 4 hour. There we go. As you can kind of see, you're getting some slight curvature. Not a bottoming signal on your prime oscillator yet, but definitely leaving some room for a little bounce off of that resistance line to potentially turn it into some support. But, you know, as the article said, and as I've kind of shown you on that daily chart, there was a lot of divergences that could drag us down. That 71 is going to be a sweet spot on that liquidity to kind of push down off of. So if we do end up breaking below, that first area I have my eye on is going to be that 50% line, and that's 66,900. And that's right in line with what the article was talking about. I know they have it for different reasons. That's going to be a value area high for the range. So that's something to keep in mind as well. There is a lot of price movement at that area, a lot of buying, a lot of selling. If it ends up being a lot of selling and destroying some of that open interest that we've been seeing not on spot, then you could definitely see some more downside movement. I don't know if anyone has any assets they'd like me to look at before I end up winding on down the show. But I do have this asset I had looked at yesterday for, who was it? I can't remember who I had looked at it for. Someone had requested this yesterday, and I still had it pulled up in the background, and I had remembered talking about that 9 cent range, the nine and some thousandth. And if we had ended up losing that level because Bitcoin decided it was going to break lower, like I didn't necessarily want to see, but was definitely plausible, that we definitely come down to this 50% line on your fib retracement. And that's exactly what it did before making a little bit of a bounce. And you know, it's definitely would have been a solid point to hit a little bounce off of. And it's played out well. It looks like it's failing to make some higher highs. It's making some equal highs here. It's not reclaiming this high here from the move down. So with the overheating that you are seeing on your oscillator and kind of waiting for that oversold signal, you could expect to see a little bit pull back down to where the selling off started here at the 8.5 cent range, before possibly continuing a trend to the upside on that. As you can kind of see on the 4-hour chart, you are setting up for some curvature on your MACD. Your prime oscillator, though, on a 4-hour chart has shown a reversal signal. You are seeing the money flow kind of starting to tick back up. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, that this might have been the spot to bounce from. If you missed that, you definitely have another spot to enter from, as you can kind of see from a shorter time frame chart. It looks like Lunar Beaches is in the chat. Yep, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. He said, I just woke up. Love you guys. Sorry, BC, long night. That's what I was expecting. I figured you were out late trick-or-treating with the kids. But as Crypto said, as Crypto Billy said, drop and give me 20. I expect that in a video, sir. Put it on the Twitters. Show us your 20 for showing up late. But let me hop over to Near. I had looked at that the other day. And we kind of came close to that point that I had been talking about. I wanted to see the $3.85 range and close this fair value gap. We didn't really end up doing it. As you can kind of see, Bitcoin has started moving on up, and so have some of the alts. But if we do see some more downside on Bitcoin, that $3.85 mark is going to be a nice little spot to maybe accumulate from, depending on how far Bitcoin's going down. You could still see that $3.53 range come into play. That has been a spot that I have accumulated on a lot back here, and back here when we broke below it, I accumulated some more. So Near has been a favorite project of mine. Let me see if I can find that in the list. I see Render was asked for. I haven't looked at Render in quite some time. Let me kind of clean that chart up for a second. Got that as well. You can kind of see we're at a point right above where we've made a lot of lows at. So that's definitely a good sign that we have maintained some strength above that $4 and about 30-cent range. There's been a lot of bounces off of that, and going back into here at that $4 and 30-cent range, about 29 to 30-cent range has been a point of rejection in the past. You can kind of see it played out here for some bounces. Let me get a better fib pulled up here from low to high. You can kind of see we're sitting right there at the 618, the golden pocket, with your prime oscillator looking like it's got a reversal signal and heavy curvature there, with your money flow coming in very, very green. It looks like we're going to see a nice little move up that could be way more explosive than Bitcoin's going to be. I have some heavy curvature on my MACD as well. I would be waiting to see that cross and a move up above that zero line. But that target for me would be right there on that 50% line. That $5.10. If we do end up reclaiming that with some support, I would be looking up here at that $5.30 range to kind of see some real resistance on that. But this chart is looking very primed for a move up on a 4-hour chart. Could be a nice little swing move to see. I have Baba Yaz asking for Injective. That's my favorite alt project. It's definitely been at some levels that I hadn't wanted to see, but I'm always happy to see, because it just lets me buy some more. As you can kind of see here, I had a support line that had been drawn out that we broke heavily to the downside of, and ended up playing on the platinum pocket. We have turned that platinum pocket into some light support. I am looking at a possible double bottoming on that, but that's going to be at more of a higher time frame. This 4-hour chart looks like it could definitely see a little bit of continuation, but if you end up pulling up a little bit of a higher time frame chart, here's the daily for you. It looks like this is nothing more but a lower high in this little range. You can kind of see here. Let me draw this line out. If I can get it on point. There we go. You failed to come up to this line on the lower time frame chart. You could see the little push up that it could make, but this line here is definitely going to be a nice little point of rejection before another little touch at that platinum pocket. You are seeing money flow on the daily being on the downside. It's light red, not heavy red, so that could leave a little room to come in with some buyers and send that back to the upside, but not immediately. It's still in that sell-off. You do have your MACD kind of at that point where it could go either way on a daily chart. But, with that trend being to the downside, I would look at more of a downside target. That platinum pocket range is going to be $17 and about 8 cents. You do have a point right below that where you've made some almost equal lows. If you go off the candle close and the wick here, it's kind of equal, but that point is going to be $14.68. $14, about $15 on the top side of that. So kind of a small little range here that I would look at. Let me put a box there, because definitely a nice little accumulation zone to hit. Top side being $17 and bottom side being about $15. So definitely a spot I would like to accumulate some more injective on. Does anyone have anything else they'd like me to take a look at? Oh, I'm seeing stacks in there. Let me hop back over. I do have some extra time. They pushed start time back for me because it's winter hours now. We're getting a little later sunrises in the day, so I get to go to work a little bit later, and I've definitely been enjoying it. Doesn't mean more sleep time for me, but it means a little less work time for me. So let's see here. We've got stacks pulled up. This fib range has played out pretty nicely, as you can kind of see here. I pulled it back here from the low before the whole move on up. This is just a fib retracement that I've kept up for a while. It's more of a macro one. So it'll play out on those bigger time frame moves where you can kind of see if you're going to swing trade something, which is going to be a nice little, maybe several day move sometimes. Sometimes it ends up being a day, depending on how quick things want to move. As you can kind of see here, we've been playing around in this 50% to golden pocket range. On a daily chart, you are seeing a little more potential for a continued move down. You are seeing the prime oscillator still there on the red. It does have a slight move sideways. So if we do see some more downside on Bitcoin, I would definitely look at us breaking below that golden pocket range, which is sitting right there at basically where price is. It's right below it at that $1.57 range. But with your MACD looking like it's pointed extremely down, and this kind of being, it's a light downwards trend. Not extremely downwards. It's kind of sideways, but it's got a higher high here, lower high there, slightly lower high there, with its bottoms being very consistent at that golden pocket, it's looking like it very well could break that range. You've got some support sitting down here at $1.48 though. So that'd be the first little area I would look at for a potential bounce on out of the range. If we do end up losing that, I would look here at that $1.32 range. That would kind of be a point where you could kind of see on a daily chart your MACD starting to see a little bit of curvature with some slowdown, and you're selling off. As you can kind of see the money flow here on your prime oscillator. Let me move it on over. There we go. The curvature on the prime oscillator is set up right with that money flow where it is light red. So as we continue to see a little bit of sell off, I would look at that $1.32 range to kind of start seeing full curvature on your MACD and your prime oscillator setting up for some curvature. Let me drop it down to that 4 hour. You can kind of see here this golden pocket range could be a slight bounce point, but with your daily looking a little bit ugly, I would see that being just an actual lower low before making a lower high. So that's just something to keep in mind on stacks. I don't know if anyone has anything else that they'd like me to take a look at, but if not, I'm going to wind the show on down because it's a lot to do a show all by yourself sometimes. I'm definitely going to have to get used to it though, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but LBC after this next week is going to be starting his own little show called Markets After Dark. It's going to leave me doing my show here in the mornings alone, but it'll definitely get you a slightly more energized LBC on his shows with some great TA like he normally does, just less sleepy TA. So definitely something I will have to take a look at before I do my shows in the morning, because he's looking at doing those very late and will definitely leave me with some TA to look at when I'm doing my workouts in the morning. So I'm kind of excited for it. I'm sad to see him go. I love the banter in the morning, but it will definitely be a new challenge for me to kind of get through and overcome and see if I can really carry these shows on my own. So thank you for everyone that showed up. We do have the morning market report that will be coming on here at 9:30 Eastern. I always think in Central Time because that's where I am. But we got 9:30 Eastern for that morning market report with OC Guy and Piper. And we'll see if the trade fly makes an appearance on this Friday. So we'll kind of see if they got anything else to coincide with some of the things that I've told you today. We do have those job numbers coming out this morning, as well as the income as well. So that's something to keep your eye on. It's coming out in 50 minutes. So kind of trade safe this morning. If you aren't very sure of what you're going to be looking for, I would hold off and wait for the dust to settle. That's going to be at 8:30 Eastern Time. So trade safe this morning. Make sure to use your stop loss. And everyone wake up, because today's going to be a good day.